Hello, everybody. I am getting on here just a couple minutes before 7 to see if anybody's going to hop on with us. It is almost 7. We're going to get started right at 7 o'clock. This month, the month of April, is Child Abuse Prevention Month. I'll think of it here in a minute. And so what I want to do is I'm going to be doing live videos on Tuesday nights just to start a conversation to talk about some things that we can do to help prevent child abuse. And so please feel free to make a comment if there's something that you want to talk about or something that you want to share. Please mention it in the comments. I'll try to kind of read those as I go. I have just a couple of things that I want to talk about tonight. So we'll give everybody just a few minutes. I'm trying to make sure I have my comments and stuff here turned on. Hello, hello. Like I said, we're going to give it just a couple more minutes. It is very, very quiet here at my house. Thank you, Joanna. I appreciate it. She says that I look lovely. This is my end of the day look, my end of the day hair. So my husband actually has all of our kiddos. Tuesday night is Jordan's baseball practice. And so he has taken all of the kiddos off so graciously, so that way it would be a little quiet here at the house. So that's where all my children are. I do want to just put this out there. I know most of you all know I am not necessarily a professional of any sort. I am a foster mom. I've been a foster mom for a little over 3 years now. We've had 13 kids, and we currently have 5 right now. And so we work with children who have, obviously they're in foster care for a reason. They have either been abused or neglected. And so becoming a foster parent, there's training classes that we have to take. And so and we are trained on how to protect those children, especially after they've already been abused. And so I know kind of from experience from doing this for a while, as well as some of the training that I had to do to become a foster parent, on some of the things that we have to do to protect children. And like I said, April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. And so I just want to start this conversation. We're going to do it every Tuesday. Planning on doing about this time every Tuesday, make it the same time, make it a little bit easier for everybody. And just want to talk about a couple of things that we can do. You do not have to be a foster parent to be a part of this conversation. You don't even have to be a parent at all. Anybody, everybody needs to be a part of this. If you work at a church, if you work with children in any area, if you live in a neighborhood where there are children, all of us, there are important things that we need to know so that way we can help protect children. And so tonight, I mostly want to talk about what kids need to know. When do you start talking to them? How do you start these conversations with your kids about how to be safe? And so I would say go ahead, and what we've been taught and what we've learned through experience is go ahead and start talking to your children right now. No matter how old they are, no matter how young they are, you can go ahead and get started with that conversation. Obviously, things need to be, age appropriate. But at the same time, we live in such a scary world. When we talk about safety, there are places that we used to think would be safe that honestly, just the world that we live in, we live in a fallen world, and these places aren't safe. Schools and daycares and family members' houses and even churches, as sad as it is, there have been instances where we have found that those are actually not safe places. And so we've got to talk to our children about how to be safe. And we have to start, like I said, no matter how old they are, no matter how young they are, go ahead and start having that conversation with them and make it a part of your conversation, so that way if they ever find themselves in a situation, that they don't think it's scary, or they don't think it's awkward, or they don't know how to approach that conversation with you. If you go ahead and start talking to them about things right now, just making it everyday conversation, then I think we'd be amazed at how much more willing they'd be able to talk to us. So the first thing that I would say is that you need to, one of the things that we strive to do is that we want to teach our kids about safe adults. A lot of people in ages past, we've done, the stranger danger. And obviously they need to learn about that. They need to learn that you can't just trust anybody and everybody. But we also need to teach them who safe adults are. Hi Dana, thank you for joining us. We are talking about the things that our kids need to know. And one of the things that I would stress is that it's not necessarily about who your kids don't need to talk to, but who your kids do need to talk to. And so we need to teach them that there are people that, even though they might be a stranger, those are safe people to go to. A police officer, a firefighter, a teacher at school, that those are the types of people that we can talk to. We need to point them out to the safe people in our families. Obviously mom and dad are safe people that we can talk to. Teachers at school, like I said, maybe there's a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle or a babysitter who is in the house very, very often, people that the children would feel comfortable with. Explain that these are safe adults. And if anything ever makes you feel unsafe, that you are allowed to go and to talk to one of these people. And not only do they need to know that these are safe adults, they need to know that safe adults do not keep secrets. And I know that this can be kind of tough because you think about, like, what about birthday parties? What about Christmas presents and things like that? One of the things that we've had to condition to do in our house is to explain the difference between a surprise and a secret. A surprise typically means that something fun and exciting is going to happen. So a surprise birthday party, or like I said, something that you're getting for Christmas, or you're wanting to do something nice and something special for somebody. Those are good things. Those are surprises. And it's okay. You don't have to tell everybody everything. You don't have to tell everybody everything you got them for Christmas. You want to keep those things a surprise. But at the same time, if it is a safe adult, then they are not going to ask you to keep a secret. And like I said, you can start this conversation with anybody as early as 2-3 years old. You begin having this conversation and explaining to them safe people do not keep secrets. And so that way they know if, Uncle so-and-so or somebody at daycare, somebody at church, or somebody at school is asking them to keep a secret, they can know that that's the point they need to come to mom or dad or one of the other safe adults that they can go to and can tell them, hey, they were wanting me to keep a secret. I don't feel safe about this. I don't feel comfortable about this. Or can you just please explain this to me? I don't understand. Why do they want me to keep this a secret? They need to know those people that they can go to. And if you guys have anything to say, I know we have a couple of people watching with us. If you have anything that you want to ask a question about or anything that you want to add, please make sure that you do that. And I'm going to try to not just be nervous and ramble. I'm going to try to look at the comments. So if you guys have anything to say about that, please add in. Another thing that we found out through fostering, through one of our fostering classes, a foster parent was there speaking, and one of the things that they suggested doing was coming up with a safe word for your family. And so what we mean by a safe word is, excuse me, kind of like a code word that your kids can share with you in any situation where they can kind of mix it in. It doesn't want to be something really totally weird, like, I don't know what a weird word would be, but not something totally weird, but something that they can kind of work into a regular conversation. That way, if they are ever in a situation where they do not feel safe, they can bring that up to you, and then you can be like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but they do not feel safe right now. let me help them get out of this situation. So we have one with our older boys. Our younger girls, they're still kind of at that point to where they don't fully understand what we talk about with that, and we don't want to tell them the same safe word that we have for our boys because they would be running around saying it all the time. And so we've used this, whether it be that they're hanging out with their friends, and we've kind of used that before too, like as the boys are going off to friends' houses. If they're going over to a sleepover or they're going to hang out with their friends, if they get scared or they feel unsafe, maybe about one of the parents that are there, never know. Somebody's dad comes home drunk or the parents start fighting. Or even if the kids, just the kids are being together and they begin making some unwise choices and they don't want to feel lame and be like, hey, let me have the phone, let me call my mommy to come pick me up. They can call me and they just, kind of mention this word that I have. Like I said, it's very easy, the word that we have. It's very distinct that they're not going to say it all the time. But at the same time, it's not so odd that they can't fit it into a regular conversation with me. And so I know if they call me and they give me that code word, then I will give it a couple minutes. I'll head their direction and then I'll call and I'll make up an excuse. I'll make up a reason to say, you know what, I decided that Jordan and Eli needed to come home early today. I decided, we had something going on with our family. I really need to pick them up right now. And so that way it kind of gives them the freedom to kind of make that out for themselves. Without feeling so intimidated by having to kind of approach that situation themselves. They don't have to approach the adult that's making a bad decision or approach, the other kids that they might be with that's making a bad decision. So I'd encourage you guys to do that. Like I said, think of a word that's not so bizarre that it's going to sound odd if they talk to you about it, but at the same time something that they can fit into a conversation and make it very distinct, not something that they're going to talk about all the time, but so that way it's very distinct. When you hear that, you know that something is up. And then I also want to talk about body safety. It is really important, and like I said, all the way from super young all the way up, they can go ahead and you can start having these conversations with them about body safety. Obviously, as they get older, the conversations can kind of change. But when they're younger, there are things that they need to know. Looking at my notes here so I don't forget. One of the things that we teach our kiddos is no bathing suit touch. Is kind of how we word it. Because different people have different slang for things. And so the way that we just point blank put it is no bathing suit touch. If anybody tries to touch you where your bathing suit covers, then that is not okay. And so we tell them all the time, especially obviously our littles, not our big kids, but our littles even, we tell them, when I'm helping them in the bath or I'm just helping them get changed or something, I tell them all the times, nobody is allowed to touch you here. The only people that are allowed to touch or look here is the doctor or mommy or daddy, while we're helping you get ready or something like that. And just kind of put that in, like I said, just make it casual, make it everyday conversation. I tell them that multiple times. Thank you, Dana, for for your vote of confidence there. Appreciate it, your encouragement. But yeah, like I said, if it's something that your bathing suit covers, it does not need to be touched by anybody else. It also doesn't need to be looked at or taken pictures of. Really important. Like I said, I hate that we're even having to have this conversation and even having to explain this, but obviously we are, because things have happened in this world, and so we need to make sure that we're prepping them for these things and let them know that these things are not okay. Another thing that I would say, and this might ruffle some feathers with certain people understand it, but it's okay for your kids to say no. And I think that this is something that we struggle with. I don't know if it's a Southern thing, because we're just all about manners and being polite. And so if, so-and-so bought you a present, well, you need to go and give them a hug. You need to go give them some love and tell them thank you. Well, if your kid is not comfortable with giving hugs or giving physical, even if it's appropriate things like a hug or a kiss on the cheek or something like that, if it's something that your child is not comfortable with, then we should not force them to do that. And so I know for me, like we deal with kids who have been hurt before, and so maybe for them, it's a little different. So we have to protect them a little extra. But at the same time, if there is something that's going on with your kiddo that they don't like the vibe, they don't want that physical touch, that we should give them a safe place where we tell them that is okay. Yes, I still believe firmly in manners. Yes, you are still going to tell them thank you, and you're probably going to go home and write them a thank you letter for your birthday present or whatever. But at the same time, we got to be really careful that we're not grooming these kids that say that every time you get a present that you have to reward that person with a physical thank you. And so I know some of you might think, well, that's just over the hill. Like, no, that's not what we're doing, and I understand that. But at the same time, your kids need to know that they have the power over their bodies, and they have the power to say no. They have the power to get away from people if they don't want to be touched, or if they don't want to give physical affection like that. That we should teach them that that's okay, that you are in charge of your body and you are allowed to do that. And so that's mostly the things that we say for mostly more of our littles, and kind of go over those real quick. Not necessarily focus on the stranger danger, but teach them more about safe adults. Teach them who those safe adults are, who they are allowed to go to, who they are allowed to talk to, and then stress to them that safe adults do not keep secrets. Yes, they may have surprises, but safe adults will never ask you to keep a secret. They will never ask you not to tell your mommy or your daddy or your teacher or somebody like that. Coming up with a safe word for your family, whether it be the same word for everybody, or maybe it's, if you have multiple kids, maybe it's a distinct word maybe for the younger kids and another one for the older kids. So that way if they ever find themselves in a bad situation, they can use that word. And then body safety. No bathing suit touch, no touching where the bathing suit is, as well as you don't get to touch anybody else there. That's not appropriate. We do not do that. That's not how we play with our friends. No pictures, and giving them the power to say no. And I also, just very briefly before we're done, I want to talk about safety for our older kiddos, for our teenagers. I know many of our preteens and teenagers, they have cell phones. Well, I was doing a training video, and I found some very crazy statistics. And I want to read them to you real quick. It says 1 in 33 youth, so this means preteens, teenagers, not yet adult, not 18. 1 in 33 youth received an aggressive sexual solicitation in the past year. 1 in 33 received an aggressive sexual solicitation in the past year. So whether that be on social media, Facebook, Instagram, our games, our TikTok, whatever, that in the past year, 1 in 33 youth received that. Of those children, only 25% of them reported it. That 1 in 33 were approached with a sexual solicitation, but out of that, only 25% of those children that encountered a sexual solicitation told an adult. And then the statistic also says that 1 in 5 teens have received an unwanted sexual solicitation via the web. And so where we're at with our older children is that, this stuff is happening, that this is real. And I think as parents, it can be very scary. And so we just want to be like, okay, let's take it all away. No cell phone, no social media. You're going to live in a box. You're going to be a hermit for the rest of your life because the world is too scary. But at the same time, we also have to realize that our kids aren't living in the same world that we lived in. When I was young, talking about people that had a cell phone, hardly any of my friends had a cell phone, so it wasn't that big of a deal that I didn't have a cell phone. When I first got a cell phone, it was, like a little slider phone. Texting, we very rarely texted because it was so hard. You'd have to sit there and go through all the letters to get to the letter that you wanted to. And so it was very challenging. It was very tough. That, it wasn't a big deal for us. But the kids that we live in, the kids that are in the world today, that it is tough if they don't have a cell phone. They feel excluded. They feel like they're not accepted. They feel like they're not a part of the world that their friends are a part of. And so it's tough to just rip those things away from them. And so what the study actually went on to say was that they were afraid to tell their parents. The number one reason why they were afraid to tell an adult that somebody was approaching them for these things, they didn't want to tell somebody because they were afraid they were going to take their phones away. And so as a mom like that, as a mom of an older kiddo who's had a phone, like that was very scary to me. And so I think that all of this comes back to talking about how we need to be teaching our kids about the safety. It just needs to be open conversation. Something that you talk about all the time, not just during the month of April, not just during child abuse prevention month, but make it a part of your conversation. Randomly ask your older kids, like, hey, what have you seen on your phone? Hey, what have people at school told you? And just make that to where that they feel that they are allowed to come to you and they can talk to you openly and freely, and so that way they don't have that fear. And I think that is a problem with a lot of children, is that they feel like they feel awkward. They feel like, I can't tell somebody this. They feel like they have to keep it a secret. They feel very guilty. They feel very shameful. And that's the reason why I wanted to start this conversation, is because when you break the silence, you break the power. And so we have to teach our kids that it is okay to talk to us about these things, even though it might be hard, even though it might be a little awkward. We can have these conversations, and we're going to help you walk through this together. And so those are the things that I had for tonight. Just a couple of things to think of. And if you can think of anything else, I'm going to post this video on Facebook. I'll also put it on YouTube as well. If there is anything that you can think of, please add it into the comments, even if it's after the live video is over. This week is just the first week. I have a couple more things that we want to talk about, but today was just kind of a introduction into a few things that we think that kids could know. And so I appreciate you guys watching so much. I do want to leave you guys in the comments. I will put that training video that I watched. There is a website. It is called QPIFlorida.org. QPIFlorida.org. It stands for Quality Parent Initiative for Florida. And as a foster parent, we have to do like so many training hours and stuff like that. And so I watch videos on there, but those videos are not just for foster parents. A lot of them are geared towards that, but a lot of them are not. And you can find all sorts of amazing videos that talk about safety, that talk about social media, that talk about all sorts of things, that talk about safe adults. And so you can go to that. I'll put that link down in the comments. And the training video that I watched, that I was telling you the statistics from, was called Social Media in Today's Youth. And so Dana says that she is wrapping Atlas in a bubble. Yes. Absolutely. No getting out. I've been telling my girls, Avi asked me again today. She was like, how old do I have to be to have a boyfriend? And I was like 30. And she was like, oh. So yes, let's wrap all the kids in bubbles, but obviously we know that's not possible. So thank you guys for being a part of this conversation, and not just helping our kids stay safe, but helping all kids stay safe. And we appreciate you guys so much, and I will see you guys back here again next Tuesday at 7 to continue this conversation. Thank you guys so much.